In the quiet town of Stone Market in Suffolk, England, a family story unfolded over many decades, culminating in events that would forever change the lives of all involved. This is the story of Stephen and Anne Searle, a couple whose 45-year marriage came to a tragic end one winter evening in 2017. Stephen, aged 64, and Jessica Ann, who preferred to be called Anne, age 62, had first met as teenagers in Glasgow. Their relationship began at a time when Stephen was preparing to join the Royal Marines, a career that would span 3 decades and shape much of their family life. Shortly after meeting, they married and started their family, welcoming 3 sons into the world: Gary Christopher and Stephen Jr. The family of 5 experienced numerous relocations throughout the years, moving wherever Stephen's military career required them to go. Despite these frequent changes, Stephen Jr. would later reflect that he and his brothers enjoyed a happy childhood filled with laughter and contentment. The constant moving never troubled them, he would say, as long as they remained together as a family unit. When the 1990s arrived, Stephen concluded his military service, and the family settled permanently in Stone Market. There, they established themselves within the community by running a local pub and subsequently a bowling alley. These business ventures kept them consistently engaged with town life. As their sons matured, married, and had children of their own, Stephen and Anne embraced their roles as grandparents, delighting in the energy and activity their grandchildren brought into their home. Through their hospitality businesses, the couple quickly integrated into the local community, becoming familiar figures to both residents and visitors. Stephen Jr. described his mother as the fundamental support of the family, someone who dedicated herself completely to her children and grandchildren. His father, meanwhile, was viewed by his sons as both their hero and closest friend. Between 2013 and 2017, Stephen Sr. expanded his public profile by serving as a counselor for the UK Independence Party, commonly known as UKIP, representing Stone Market South on Suffolk County Council. His colleagues in local government described him as deeply involved and proactive in his responsibilities, which gradually established him as a recognizable figure in the local political landscape. While outward appearances suggested a harmonious family life for Stephen and Anne, the reality behind closed doors told a markedly different story. By 2017, following Stephen's unsuccessful campaign in the local elections, their relationship had deteriorated significantly. Rumors about the couple's difficulties had circulated around town for some time, but few knew the extent of their problems, which had actually begun decades earlier in the early 1990s. In their private life, Stephen exhibited controlling behaviors, often belittling Anne and undermining her confidence. These verbal confrontations eventually evolved into physical altercations, resulting in Anne frequently concealing bruises on her arms and legs. After the family relocated to Suffolk, these problems only intensified, reaching a point where conflicts occurred daily. Stephen began making threats against Anne's life, telling her he had the capacity to destroy her if he chose to do so. During one particularly troubling incident at their pub, Stephen discharged a shotgun above Anne's head, in full view of customers, when he perceived she wasn't showing him proper respect. He subsequently attempted to push her down a staircase. Although police were summoned on multiple occasions, no significant legal action was ever taken. A factor that exacerbated their tensions was that both Stephen and Anne consumed alcohol heavily, and had done so for many years. Their arguments typically worsened with increased drinking. Anne had previously attended rehabilitation for her alcohol dependency and acknowledged she had a problem. By 2017, she admitted her drinking had become unmanageable, contributing to a rapid decline in both her mental and physical well-being, leaving her profoundly unhappy. The situation deteriorated further when Anne discovered Stephen was involved in an extramarital relationship. Having suspected his infidelity, Anne eventually gained access to his phone by guessing his security code. There, she found numerous exchanges between Stephen and a contact labeled SBG, his abbreviation for Steve's Beautiful Girl. Though devastated by this discovery, Anne initially remained unaware of the other person's identity and implored Stephen to disclose the full truth. After weeks of denial, the truth emerged, revealing what would become the family's greatest shock. Stephen had been conducting an affair with Anastasia, his son Gary's wife, and the mother of his grandchild. This revelation horrified everyone in the family. When confronted, Anastasia explained that Stephen had pursued her persistently for years, even before her relationship with Gary began. She discovered that Stephen maintained a computer folder containing photographs of her, some of which he had digitally altered to place her in explicit scenarios. Stephen had sent Anastasia photographs of himself from his younger days as a bodybuilder, claiming emotional and physical isolation in his marriage. According to Anastasia, after months of his persistence and growing concerned about potential consequences of continued refusal, she eventually entered into a physical relationship with him. Stephen Jr. later described the day this information came to light as exceptionally dark for the entire family. The betrayal operated on multiple levels, leaving his mother utterly devastated and humiliated by these events. Anastasia expressed feelings of shame and remorse, acknowledging her vulnerable state at the time and expressing regret for her involvement. Following these revelations, Gary ceased communication with his father and focused on rebuilding his marriage with Anastasia. Gary later stated that working through this difficult situation had ultimately strengthened their relationship, and they remained committed to each other despite the affair. For Anne, the combination of ongoing conflicts, emotional and physical mistreatment spanning decades, and the discovery of her husband's infidelity left her in a state of profound despair. Nevertheless, she confided to friends that she worried she might be too old to begin anew. Having shared 45 years with Stephen, the prospect of establishing an independent life seemed overwhelming, and she expressed determination to persevere in the marriage regardless of circumstances. As Christmas 2017 approached, Anne appeared to be making positive changes in her life. By December, she had stopped smoking, was working to moderate her alcohol consumption, and had lost a considerable amount of weight. She told colleagues she felt optimistic about her future and was eager to move beyond past difficulties. Despite these positive developments, Christmas Day proved to be a tense and unhappy occasion for the family. Every interaction seemed to generate conflict. Anne felt disappointed when Stephen failed to provide thoughtful gifts, and she became tearful and embarrassed when Stephen discarded the Christmas dinner she had prepared. That evening, with her emotional state at its lowest point, Anne posted a concerning message on Facebook. "Happy Christmas to you all. Hope you are doing well. Have a good day. I hope I will still be here in 2018. We will see," she wrote. 5 days later, on December 30th, 2017, at approximately 10:20 in the evening, police received an unusually calm telephone call from Stephen Searle. During this call, Stephen stated matter-of-factly that he had killed his wife. When the emergency operator asked him to confirm what he had said, he repeated that he had killed her and added, "Bit different for you tonight. Happy New Year." When asked how he had killed her, he responded, "Suffocation." I guess, bit of a bizarre situation. But don't mind. The operator inquired whether anyone else was present in the house, to which Stephen replied, "Well, just one of us now." Police officers arrived at the residence within 2 minutes of receiving the call. As Stephen answered the door, he greeted them with the words, "Sorry, I've been a very naughty boy. Everyone has their breaking point." Medical personnel attempted to resuscitate Anne for 30 minutes, but she was pronounced deceased at 10:58 that evening. Several hours later, at approximately 4:00 in the morning, police officers woke Stephen Jr. with the devastating news. He had initially expected to hear that a family member had been involved in a vehicular accident or had been hospitalized due to sudden illness. Upon learning that his mother had died and his father was responsible, he described feeling completely numb, as though the air had been forcefully expelled from his lungs. Stephen Searle was held in custody and appeared at Southeast Suffolk Magistrates Court on January 2nd, where he spoke only to confirm his personal information and did not indicate how he intended to plead. A post-mortem examination determined that Anne had died from sustained compression to her neck. Medical experts concluded that Stephen had applied a chokehold for an extended period. A forensic pathologist indicated that Anne would have lost consciousness after approximately 15 seconds, and causing her death would have required continued pressure for several minutes thereafter. In his statement to police, Stephen claimed he had acted in self-defense. He stated that an argument had erupted when the affair with Anastasia was mentioned again, and Anne had attacked him with a steak knife. He maintained that he had struggled to disarm her, using one hand to control the knife, and the other to restrain her, accidentally causing her death in the process. Law enforcement officials expressed skepticism regarding this account. Investigators described Stephen as a self-centered narcissist, primarily concerned with his own interests. Detective Chief Superintendent Eamon Bridger stated that his team had reviewed the emergency call recording multiple times, noting that Stephen's character was clearly reflected in those 2 minutes of conversation. He spoke with remarkable composure, as though placing a food order, displaying no remorse, sadness, anxiety, or distress. This impression was reinforced by the discovery that Anne had actually died approximately 1 hour before Stephen contacted emergency services, during which time he made no attempt to seek assistance. Stephen told investigators, "Eventually, she stopped struggling, and I said, 'Thank fuck for that. I'm going to have a cigarette.' She didn't reply. I was expecting her to kick off again. When she didn't, I thought she had gone to bed, and that it would be fine in the morning." Stephen maintained his self-defense claim throughout the legal proceedings, pleading not guilty to murder in the hope of receiving a manslaughter conviction instead. In July 2018, a 7-day trial commenced. The prosecution contended they had sufficient evidence to convince a jury that Stephen's actions did not constitute self-defense. They argued that Anne would have become unconscious within approximately 20 seconds, and Stephen's decision to continue applying pressure despite her unresponsiveness demonstrated his intent to cause her death. The prosecution emphasized that in the aftermath, Stephen made no attempt to revive his wife, did not call for medical assistance, and delayed contacting police for an hour, by which time intervention would have been futile. His calm and collected demeanor during the emergency call suggested someone who was neither panicked, upset, nor distressed by the situation, someone who simply did not care about what had occurred. After deliberating for just a few hours, the jury rejected Stephen's self-defense argument and found him guilty of murder. He was subsequently sentenced to life imprisonment with a requirement to serve a minimum of 14 years before becoming eligible for parole consideration. Stephen remained emotionless as his sentence was announced. During the proceedings, Stephen Jr. provided a victim impact statement expressing that the Searle family would never fully recover from these events. I feel emotionally drained most days. It has taken its toll on me, my family, and friends. I have turned to alcohol as a release, which has affected my relationship with my wife and family physically and emotionally. The relationship between me and my brothers has been torn apart. It has left a huge void in my heart, which is something I will never get over. Losing my mom has destroyed me. It has left me completely broken, he stated. In determining the sentence, the judge considered Stephen's age, the absence of proven premeditation, and his recent diagnosis of prostate cancer. The 14-year minimum term reflected these mitigating factors. Addressing Stephen directly, the judge stated, "By your own hands, you have brought grief and distress untold upon your family. You have deprived your children of the mother that they loved. You have deprived your grandchildren of their grandmother, and you have deprived Anne of the remaining years of her life. I think that it must go without saying that your actions have caused devastating waves of pain and anguish to crash through your entire family. No sentence that I impose can ever undo that suffering." Following the sentencing, Stephen Jr. spoke briefly to assembled media. "Good afternoon. As you are all aware, today there has been justice for my mom. The thing is, this year, not only have I lost my mom, but my dad as well. So now, all I want to focus on is my family and my friends who can help me through this year and more to come. The part that hurts me the most is I lost my mom, but the person who took my mom away was also my best friend toward my dad. So now, it's time to focus on my family and my kids and do the best I can for them. Thank you for your time." Detective Chief Superintendent Damon Bridger expressed condolences to the family and noted that domestic abuse continues to occur behind closed doors. He affirmed that Suffolk Constabulary would take positive action against perpetrators whenever possible, stating, "When the victims of abuse come to us, we will work with them to address their needs and make them and their families safe. Our focus is firmly on the needs of victims, and we will continue to work closely with our partners in tackling this type of crime." The impact of the events of that December night continues to resonate throughout the small, close-knit community. Stephen Jr. reflected that he had gone to bed with both his parents present in his life, and within the span of a few hours, both were gone from him. He finds some solace in knowing that the last time he saw his mother, she appeared happy and joyful, with laughter filling the house, and her spirit seeming positive and uplifted. In the quiet aftermath of this case, we are reminded of how relationships can gradually change over time, and how appearances often differ from reality. The Searle family story serves as a gentle reminder of the importance of recognizing signs of domestic difficulty and seeking appropriate support when needed.